Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Today we have a collection of crazy revenge stories for you. But before we start, if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. And our first story is, was bored at work, so got a guy fired and possibly sent to prison for fraud. I worked the night shift as a receptionist at a hotel in Norway, and most nights are spent watching Netflix and playing games. Last summer was really slow, and I also worked a lot extra, so I ran out of stuff to watch and games to play. One night, I got an email from Scooter. He wanted to book a room for almost 20 days. I just had to send him the price and confirmation that we had rooms available, and he'd then send me his credit card info for me to pre-charge. Normally, we just delete these kinds of mail, but I was bored out of my mind, so I responded with an offer for around $2,000 for the entire stay. Also made sure to inform him that he could cancel for free up until the day of arrival. This is probably the most common fraud attempt in the hotel/travel industry. Unlike most businesses, we're able to charge credit/debit cards with only the card number and expiration date. No need for a PIN code, CVC, or other authorization methods. Our software also allows us to deposit money directly to local and international bank accounts by using the card number. Because of this, crapheads like Scooter will try to prepay with stolen/skimmed cards, then cancel the booking and ask for a refund to a different card. A couple of hours after sending him the offer, he responded with a Visa number and told me to charge him as soon as possible. I checked the card with our validation software, and to my big surprise, it didn't belong to Scooter. If validation succeeds, it'll return with the card owner's name 90% of the time. I sent him a new email stating that the card was declined because of insufficient funds. He quickly replied and gave me a new card to try. Guess what? This one didn't belong to Scooter either. Wasn't even the same person as the first card. By checking the BIN codes, 6 first digits, I found which banks had issued the cards, not even issued in the same country. My plan was to just call the banks and inform them of the attempted scam. But there were still several hours before I could go home, so I decided to F with Scooter a bit more. Sent him a reply that the second card went through and also the reference number for his stay at our hotel. As expected, a couple hours later, Scooter sent a mail canceling the order and asked if we could refund the money to a different card, as he'd lost his wallet and deactivated the card he paid with. This card was issued from a Polish bank. Not sure why, but Polish bank accounts are often used by people who want to launder money from Bitcoin and drugs. You can buy a legit card for around $500 that's registered to some guy or girl in Poland from Darknet. At this point, Scooter was probably pretty happy about the $2,000 he'd soon receive. I replied that it was no problem for me to transfer the dollars to a different card as long as it was valid. How fun would it be to also cancel his own card so that he had to spend $500 for a new one? Not fun. Enough. In the last mail I wrote that he could send me the card number, but that our email server would go down for maintenance in a few minutes, so my boss would do it on Monday. It was now Saturday morning, so enough time for the charged bank to call us and reverse the transfer. If he needed the money right away, I told him to call the hotel before my shift ended at 7. He called almost immediately, and I wrote down the card number and his phone number. Told him I transferred the money and that it would be in his account by noon. My shift ended, and I went home with all the info Scooter had provided. I wanted to see if I could find out who he was, and OFC, this idiot had an open Facebook profile that I found using his phone number. He even listed his address and employer. Looked a bit like the artist Scooter, but with even more effed up face and spiky hair full of gel. He lived somewhere outside of London, in an area I would describe as a British trailer park. Houses that were nice at some point, but where the owners had spent nothing on maintenance since it was built. Trash everywhere, broken windows that were boarded up or fixed by sealing holes with garbage. Now to the fun part. According to his Facebook profile, Scooter worked at a hotel. This meant that he would have access to card information from guests that booked through sites like Booking.com. I called the manager of the hotel and told him that there was reason to believe that one of his employees was trying to commit credit card fraud and that the card's numbers could belong to their guests. I gave him the name of people who owned the card Scooter tried to pay with, and to no surprise, both had stayed at the hotel. I told him it was Scooter, and the manager just exploded in anger. Not 100% sure what he said because he was screaming so loud, but I think Scooter wasn't a normal employee. He worked there through some sort of government training program or something. After talking to the manager, I called both Visa and MasterCard International and told them about Scooter's little business venture. Apparently, it's pretty easy to check if there are more cards that have been involved in fraud, where the cards have also been used at Hotel Scooter. With his Polish deposit account info, they would also be able to pin it on Scooter if he'd been successful in scamming anyone and sue him for the amount stolen. The manager also called me later to get a statement regarding the whole situation, so I know that the manager reported it to the police. Not sure what happened to Scooter, but according to his Facebook profile, he no longer works at the hotel. Or anywhere else as far as I can tell. One less scam artist out there. Hope he learned his lesson. And our next story. Business refused to refund $40. The courts ordered him to pay $230. Story time. Last September, my wife had planned a wonderful Father's Day present for me. Father's Day's in September in Australia. This was to be my first ever Father's Day as a new dad, so to mark the occasion, my wife had arranged to have our daughter's face laser etched onto a dog tag. However, the day before Father's Day, she received the item back and it was, shall we say, subpar. So she came and showed me my present early. Now, I've had some experience with crappy retailers before and remembered to always come prepared when disputing the quality of any goods and services. So I set my phone to record all audio and approached the retailer. I explained that my wife was upset at the quality of the engraving, and rightfully so. I requested a refund and was immediately met with resistance. To begin with, they blamed the quality on the photo we provided. Then when I disputed that, they said that the laser engraving doesn't do depth very well, and some faces can end up with some shadows missing. End of conversation. They refused a refund and threatened to call security if I didn't leave. The engraver's located in a mall that I also happen to work at. My wife and I left. We straight away left a less than glowing review on their Google page, which was met with accusations of us being unreasonable and threatening violence. Ours was not the only review to which they had this response. They informed us that the matter had been passed on to the local police and that a restraining order had been applied for. We immediately called all local police stations and were delighted to hear that they had never heard of the company in question. After some thought, and me being the stubborn jerk that I am, I decided to forward the matter on to the local small claims tribunal. A month or so passed, and our day in the tribunal had arrived. We honestly weren't expecting the engraver to show up, but lo and behold, there he was, at a civil claims court, in camo pants and a hoodie. We met in a room with a mediator, who told us that it may not be worth chasing a $40 refund from somebody who is, in short, a D-head. She warned that it may end up costing more than the service to begin with, but as mentioned before, I'm stubborn. We pushed forward, opting to go to the hearing. This is when we heard some marvelous news from the engraver. I'm not prepared to go to hearing today. I haven't got any of my evidence. Ding, ding, ding. We went to the hearing that day, the registrar ruled in our favor and issued a notice of payment. The business was to pay us $40 within 2 weeks. 2 weeks later, no payment, no surprise. During this time, I'd been communicating via email with the holder of the engraver's lease, who in response to my complaint, among many others, had decided to terminate the lease, effectively kicking the engraver out of the mall. My man. While the engraver was organizing a new venue for his business, I'd filed a motion for a writ for levy of property, meaning the local sheriff was able to enter his premises and relieve him of merchandise to the value of the refund plus court fees, now totaling $139. I informed the engraver, asking him if he would like to settle like a reasonable person or have the sheriff pay him a visit. He was not a reasonable person. Once the writ had been issued, the fee then increased to $225. All I had to do was wait. And wait I did, until March 13th, this year, when the sheriff finally attended his new business premises. He was offered an ultimatum: pay the fee or have merchandise repossessed. Ladies and gentlemen, we got him. The man paid. He was stubborn for 6+ months over a $40 refund, only to be down $225 plus $5 interest. That's not how the law works, after a court order against him, LOL. And our last story. Thief tried to steal my car, accidentally filled it up with gas, and brought it back to me instead. My first car was a 1984 Jeep CJ7. Pretty sweet ride for a dirt-poor teenager in the 90s. I was working midnights at a gas station and loaned it to my brother who was taking a date to a party. I got a call around 1 a.m. from my brother who told me he left the keys in the Jeep and it was stolen. I was devastated. I was still on the phone with my brother when the thieves pull up in my Jeep to my gas station to fill up the tank. As luck would have it, the gas gauge on my Jeep was broken and always read empty, and I worked at the only 24-hour gas station in town. I pressed the silent alarm, proceeded to fill up my Jeep. It was a full-service station. When the thieves were out of the Jeep, I saw an opportunity to slip the key out of the ignition and into my pocket. They paid for gas, then argued amongst each other as to who had the keys last. The delay was enough for the police to arrive. I had to explain the story to the officer half a dozen times before he understood. The thieves had this stunned look of disbelief on their faces I'll never forget. The cops were belly laughing, telling the story to dispatch. All the while, the thieves sat in cuffs in the back of the squad car. The story made most of the major newspapers the following day. I don't know if this is really pro-revenge or not, but the karma sure was strong. It's a great story. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.